fulfill your destiny.
Hey, welcome guys. This is my guide on how to watch the Star Wars Skywalker Saga movies, especially if you're new. There are still people who have watched the saga before and really kind of don't understand it or don't understand how the pieces fall into place, and this is just my guide on how you can just understand it a little more, because Star Wars is a very intricate but very, very good series to be a part of. There's such a big community and a lot of nerds a part of it, so let's get started. First disclaimer, this is my personal opinion on how you should watch Star Wars. Personally, I prefer the chronological 1 through 9. If there's really only two ways to watch Star Wars. It's chronological or by release date. Release date would be you would watch episode 4, 5, 6 first, jump back to 1, 2, 3, then jump forward to 7, 8, 9. Personally, chronological just makes sense, and like it's a building piece because you could kind of see how the puzzle pieces fall into place. But yeah, other than that, it's really just self-explanatory if you're going chronologically. But hey, to each his own. If you prefer watching it by release date, you do whatever you got to do. Before I start, I want to put some information out to you. There's going to be a term that you're going to see at the bottom of every single poster at the bottom here, and that is BBY or ABY. This is all referring to the Battle of Yavin. The Battle of Yavin happens in episode 4, and this is just kind of like Star Wars's way of being able to define a point in time in history, because there really isn't a time where people look at their clocks and go, oh, it's 11 o'clock or it's Tuesday on the month May. Like, they don't do that. So for us to understand like their years and how old certain characters are, we kind of base everything around the Battle of Yavin. So BBY is before the Battle of Yavin, ABY is after the Battle of Yavin. This is kind of crucial to understand, just because that's how we track how old characters are, or just maybe how quick a sequence of events are happening. So with that, let's just jump in straight to episode 1, The Phantom Menace. This is the building block, the very, very beginning of your story, if you're starting off with the Star Wars. This is 32 years before the big battle at Yavin. We're meeting characters already where they're at, so clearly there's already been a story established, but it's kind of in the unknown of how did people get there, how did all of this kind of form. And that's okay, because there is a very deep story that starts all of this that we haven't been introduced to yet. But basically, we're thrown on a journey with a couple of characters. Specifically, we have Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, Padme Amidala, and then we also have Anakin. These are going to be our main characters that we follow through the most through the prequels, and that's what the first 3 movies are called, are the prequels. Without really spoiling anything, you'll definitely get to see how this movie is setting up for the next couple of movies that are going to be following it. It's super good. It has one of the best fight scenes and the best soundtracks of Duel of the Fates in it. So I highly recommend starting off here and just seeing where the journey takes you. Next we have Attack of the Clones. This movie is known as the meme because Anakin just doesn't like sand apparently, and all this funny stuff. This movie is really comedic at some points, but this one takes place 22 years before the Battle of Yavin. So clearly Anakin, who you see in the picture here, is older. He is 10 years older than what he was in the movie. This movie is used to drive specific characters and show the relationships of specific characters, one being Anakin and Padme. Those are going to be like the 2 main ones. We also have Anakin and Obi-Wan, showing that the master and apprentice role between them, and really how Obi-Wan steps up as a father role for Anakin. This movie, we get to see that there is a problem. There is a huge war that is about to unfold because of the separatists, which are like the droids and robots and stuff like that, and then also the clones, which the clones are, you know, all on the side of the good side, which is the Force, or the Jedis at least, the Council, that's the regular name for them. So at this point, at the very end of the movie, this is when the Clone Wars begins. This is a huge and very significant time because it's a huge shift in power during like this entire saga. So it's a super important one to see and watch and kind of understand, but it's okay. There's so many details that are not in the movies that are shown in other products, just like Clone Wars, the TV show and stuff like that. So don't worry about it if all of it just doesn't make sense right away. Next, by far my favorite, you got episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. This one, it is so good. It is so dark, and it is such a strong movie. This one takes place 19 years before the Battle of Yavin. Clearly, we're getting a little bit closer, but it's 3 years after the last one, and you'll see Anakin as almost like a teen weird child in episode 2. Episode 3, you really see that he's growing up, but he's growing up quickly, and he's understanding things very quickly. And that's really important to notice because he plays a significant part in like what's to come. A huge thing is going to be Order 66. This happens in this movie. It's one of the best like sequences out there, and just complete shift in good versus evil, where this movie is just dark, so evil comes out, you know, on top, and it's super cool to kind of see that unfold. And you know, we're gonna have the iconic scenes happen here, and yeah, this one we really get to see the Chosen One really pick a side for the first time, and it's super cool to kind of see that unravel and happen. Next, we have this is the one where the Battle of Yavin happens. So this is our year 0. A New Hope is year 0. Oh, there we go. Is year 0 for us, and this is where we have everything kind of referenced to. This one, we are handed a set of characters that are new, but if you've watched the episode 3, you know who the main characters are going to be. You are thrown into the desert land of Tatooine with Obi-Wan and Luke, and really getting to follow their journey, and Luke really trying to find himself and who he is within the Force, because, you know, of the droid he found. It's just literally a droid starts off this entire journey for Luke, and it's super cool to see. A very important note, though, is if you haven't seen this movie and you just watched 1, 2, and 3, you're going to see the production value of number 4 to just drop really bad. You're going to say, wow, this looks old. It's because it is. It was created in 1977, which is significantly older than 2002, which it was 1999, 2002, and I think 2003 or 4 is when the prequels came out. So don't hold your standards of cinematics to the prequels, because when you get to these the original trilogy, you're going to see that the production value kind of drops off pretty hard. Next we have we have episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. This one is 3 years after the war. So the war has already ended, or the battle has already ended at Yavin, and now we're seeing the progression of the story and what is going on. We get to join this rebel group of friends of Han, Luke, Leia, Chewie. We got C-3PO and R2-D2, and then going on a journey to kind of figure out what can they do to keep freedom alive. The Empire is becoming huge at this point, devastatingly huge, and there's small cells of rebellions that are trying to fight back, and throughout this movie you get to see the progression of the rebellion and their struggle, which is really, really cool, and they don't really get off unscathed either. We're starting off on Hoth, which is just a snow planet, and you just get to see just how the Empire just moves forward and just does not care what they destroy during all of this. We get to learn, that Darth Vader tells him just this devastating secret that you know, I think if you've watched the other ones, you kind of know what it is, but for Luke, he's learning this for the first time. But yeah, we're just seeing the power of the Empire during all of this, and their reign over the galaxy. And the reason why they're able to be so powerful is because of the fear that they're being able to install in people. They take over planets and just rule the people, use the planets for their resources, and that's how they're able to continue operating. And they just continue to grow as well. As people get hopeless, they kind of join the Empire just to hope for a little bit of stability. And that's how they're able to do their bidding across the galaxy. Next, episode 6. This is the final movie in the original trilogy. There we go. This one is a super good story, and this is when the originals came out. This one was the big, like, hurrah moment. This was placed 4 years after the Battle of Yavin, so a year after the previous one. We join our gang on a journey to understand who they are and how powerful they are with the Force. So in the previous movie, you'll learn that secret. I'm just not going to spoil it just in case. This secret really tells Luke who he is and how he is able to do certain things, but there's a lot of things he has to work in himself before being able to move forward. Darth Vader just plays a huge part in this movie. It's a really good, just really good storyline, and just the very end of this movie you will enjoy so much, because it's just this big moment. I'm trying not to spoil this as hard as possible, but also during this movie is where we have the battle of Endors, where we get to see our little Ewok, little furry guys running around, which is always a great thing because they are adorable. But yeah, this movie is very, very good, and this is where a lot of people thought this whole saga would end, because, you know, the big thing at the end, that makes sense where to end it, but not yet. So next, we have The Force Awakens. This one just tosses us with a brand new story, brand new everything. In the last movie, the Empire falls because the rebellion does prevail. Really trying not to spoil as much as I can here. But this one, clearly a new force has kind of taken control. This force is now called the First Order. These guys are nothing to mess with. Like, these guys are even more ruthless and even more powerful than the Empire was. But this one takes place 34 years after the Battle of Yavin. So 30 years has passed from episode 6 now to episode 7. So there has been new formation of, you know, rebel cells, new understanding of the Force, and all of that fun stuff. But we are joining in with a new squad of characters: Rey, Finn, Poe, BB-8, and Kylo Ren. Those are more of the significant ones in this storyline. But all these characters play such a pivotal role in the battle that is to come later on. We get to just start this journey just understanding each of the characters, and honestly how either worthless or how manipulative they are, or how much power they don't have. And it's cool to be able to start a story off like that. We get to learn Rey's origins, Kylo, who he is, and really how he's able to keep the dark side like tugged to his heart and like really strong there. You get to know Finn and all that extremely well, and it's a super cool storyline. This one personally, is my favorite when it comes to the sequels. I wish that wasn't the case, but it is. Next, we're going to move on to episode 8. This one is, in a lot of Star Wars fan opinions, one of the weakest movies, just because it kind of threw a lot of things away, no pun intended there. It threw a lot of just plot and storyline out from the previous movies and kind of treated it really poorly. So I enjoyed it, but I definitely think it could have been better. Just to keep with our role here, This one is immediately following episode 7. Episode 7's last scene leads to episode 8's first scene. And so Ray now just tries to find a teacher, tries to find someone that is able to kind of show her her role and her place in this world, because she didn't have anyone else. The only person that she managed to find was Finn back on the planet. Why am I forgetting it? I'm forgetting it for some reason. Hold on, this is now officially gonna bug the heck out of me. Jakku, there we go. I didn't even have to look it up. I'm just gonna, Jakku. Yeah, so we get the Ray. All we know about Ray is that she's from Jakku and she doesn't have family. That's just kind of how we know her. But Ray is really determined to kind of find out who she is. We then get to find out that Ray and Kylo have a very strong connection in the Force, kind of way stronger than that we could presume or really have seen in this universe before. But it's explained in the movie quite well, I would say. And we get to see the Resistance. At this point in episode 8, the Resistance is struggling and like dying constantly. Like ships are being blown up, and like you could just tell the rebels aren't in a good spot. And then last but not least, we got episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. This one is the newest one that came out a couple months ago. This one, I really enjoyed this, but I definitely agree with a lot of the fan base. If you are new and have seen this could be kind of confusing. Or if you're new and you haven't seen this, the fan base in general is very mixed on this movie. There's a lot of good and a lot of bad. Personally, if you've seen this movie, read the book. The book is so much better. It goes into detail into like characters' heads, which gives more details and more of like a passion-driven thing throughout the movie. And there's a handful of scenes off the top of my head that aren't shown in the movie, but are in the book, and I think would really have played a huge part in the movie. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. This movie is apparently they're not really sure, but they think it's about a year after episode 7, so it makes it 35 ABY. Here we truly understand who Ray is, which is super cool. There's again mixed opinions on if this was a cop out or not. We get to see a bunch of redemption arcs. We get to see this huge battle at the end of this movie that is just so powerful. But again, the rebellion is struggling. Like they are barely holding on, and this is really their last hope to fight for freedom in the galaxy. So I love that like battle is one of my favorite battles, besides just the lightsaber duel in episode 3. But yeah, this movie is so good, and I do think it does a really great job of wrapping up the saga. There's a couple of things I do agree with a lot of people that I think should have been a little bit different, but overall it's really good. It is so good. So guys, thank you so much for watching and just being a part of this. This is literally the first video in a series that I just hope to continue. This has only been the Skywalker saga movies. I do plan to do a video that is going to be everything that we know of, but I'm just working towards that. So the next video is going to be the movies included, but I'm going to add in the TV shows and any other like movies that have come out. So we have, Han Solo, we have Rogue One, Mandalorian, Clone Wars, Rebels, the Resistance. Like there's a whole ton of other things that like fall into place here. But for those of you who are just starting, I thought that this was just going to be a very perfect spot for you guys to catch up and understand maybe a little bit more than maybe you did before. So guys, with that, I thank you. If you like this type of content or just or want more of this, just like the video real quick, and I really appreciate it. Hey, and wherever you go, may the Force be with you. always.